Now, former President Jacob Zuma's son, Duduzane, was back in court this week. The 34-year-old facing charges relating to a fatal car crash 4 years ago. He's accused of culpable homicide after the death of two women who were traveling in a minibus taxi. His Porsche sports car rear-ended the taxi in February 2014. Details now from ENCA's Aaron Bates, who was in court.
Duduzane Zuma's next court appearance is in 2 months' time. He briefly appeared in the Randburg Magistrates Court this morning. 2 rows away sat his father, former head of state Jacob Gedleyihle Zuma, in a show of support for his son. Zuma Jr. faces 2 charges of culpable homicide in connection with a deadly car crash in February of 2014. He faces an alternative charge of negligent driving.
The state has disclosed 5 arch lever files to the defense last week Friday. They did not have ample opportunity to study all the documents given by the state. We have arranged that the matter be remanded to the 26th of October.
You are currently on warning. If you do not appear on the 26th of October, a warrant of arrest will be issued against you. Do you understand?
I understand.
Thank you, sir.
In 2014, the NPA conducted an inquest into the deadly car crash, but decided not to prosecute the then president's son. The reason for that decision was never made public. Then in 2017, lobby group AfriForum announced it would seek permission to privately prosecute Zuma. In early July 2018, the NPA issued Zuma a summons for public prosecution. It's unclear what changed in 4 years to motivate the about turn. But Zuma's supporters have cried foul, alleging political motives.
This is someone that is already being criminalized. This is someone that is already being treated as a guilty criminal. We don't believe that AfriForum at the forefront of this case, which claims to be speaking on behalf of the Dube family, and AfriForum does not care about the plight of black people. They are just using this dispute so they can further punish Duduzane Zuma, who is the son of the president.
Prosecutorial decisions are based on facts that are brought before any prosecutor. It has nothing to do with a political affiliation or a political pressure. So even in this case, that applies. A decision was taken by the prosecutor to proceed with prosecution purely on the facts.
Gauteng spokesperson for the NPA says that they want the matter to be finalized as soon as possible. The next court appearance is on the 26th of October. Aaron Bates, Randburg.
Now I want to move to the Eastern Cape. The Health Ombudsman has called on the Health Minister, Aaron Motsoaledi, to place the province's mental health services under national government administration. Professor Malakapuru Makgoba has released a report into the Tower Psychiatric Hospital. It follows allegations of mistreatment of patients as well as human rights violations at the 400-bed facility. Here's the story now from Leranzo Temba.
It was all a lie. That's the Health Ombudsman's conclusion after considering claims of human rights abuses and patient mistreatment at this hospital. Dr. Kiran Sukeri, who was head of Tower Hospital's psychiatric unit, rang the alarm on alleged patient violations in these corridors. Sukeri, who was since moved to private practice, claimed patients were often given substandard food and were subjected to inhumane confinement in seclusion rooms for hours on end. He also said negligence had led to patient deaths, and the hospital had downplayed the number of deaths of mentally ill patients.
Dr. Sukeri again released unverified, false and damaging death statistical information to the public, and in so doing committed scientific fraud. Dr. Sukeri violated the confidentiality of patients and by so doing took their dignity away.
Makgoba's 68-page report states seclusion rooms were substandard and are currently being renovated. Despite the fabrications in Sukeri's claims, Makgoba says serious challenges do exist and is calling on the national government to step in.
The National Health Minister must evoke the appropriate and relevant section of the Constitution to appoint an administrator with respect to mental health care services. The National Minister of Health really looks into taking back the powers that are important in this emerging epidemic throughout the world.
The report states 68 patients died over an 8-year period, but this was not due to negligence as alleged. It also found Sukeri had violated patients' rights by discharging patients without following the correct procedures. Some had to be tracked down and readmitted as they battled to cope outside the hospital.
Mukhoba has recommended that Dr. Sukeri be reported to the health professions watchdog and that he be suspended immediately for trying to create what he calls a life esidimeni copycat phenomenon based on lies. Leranzo Temba, Pretoria.
We're going to finish Weekend One with this story and the controversial Zimbabwe elections. Advocate Dalia Mpofu says the decision to deny him and a colleague work permits was politically motivated. He and Advocate Tembeka Nkuyatobe represented the opposition MDC alliance in the Constitutional Court, but they faced red tape.
We appear in courts around SADC, and this has nothing to do with politicians. It's a matter at best between the court and the practitioner, or between the court and the law society of that country. That we were prepared to do. But once you introduce the subjective views of politicians, in this particular case, actually, this is the classical case that demonstrates why you should not have politicians. Because the minister who was now supposed to give us permission, A, was the chief electoral agent of Mnangagwa. B, he personally had filed an affidavit in these proceedings opposing our
We're talking about the Justice Minister.
Yes, the Justice Minister of Zimbabwe. He has filed an affidavit opposing this application. So how do you expect him to now basically give the other side the right to legal counsel? Because that's what it's about. It's not about us. We are professionals. It doesn't matter if they allow us or not, but it's the rights of the litigant to have counsel of his choice. Because irrespective of the outcome of this, whether Chamisa wins or loses the case, the point of the matter remains that he has been now denied the rights of counsel of his choice. And the fact of the matter is that Zimbabwe is, whether it's a reciprocating country or not, I mean, I spoke to the former Minister Chinamasa, who was Minister of Justice outside court, and he was boasting that he's the one who put in this law to restrict appearances. So I said, I thought we were all Pan-Africanists. And he had no answer to that. And I said, so now because of the colonial borders, one Mpofu, Advocate Mpofu from Zimbabwe cannot talk, but the other Advocate Mpofu from South Africa cannot talk. The other one can talk. What is that? And he had no answer to that. So it was clearly meant for this particular case, and it was unfair.
Advocate Dalia Mpofu. And that is your Weekend One. Until next time, goodbye to you and thank you for watching.